67% of first-time patients never come back to your med spa. 67%. Let that sink in for a second. I hope that is a punch to your gut when you hear that statistic, because you are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month, definitely every single year, to acquire new patients. And the path to least resistance to growing your revenue for your med spa is doing a better job with the people right in front of you, with the patients that have come in. But it takes a strategy, a system, and accountability to make sure that you are not one of those med spas that 67% of your first-time patients never ever come back through the door. You want to be one of those med spas that has a 70% or higher rebooking rate. And I'm not just talking about a 70% or higher rebooking rate on patients that, on the majority of your patients that have been with you for years. I'm talking all of your patients, including first-time patients, including those consultations that you're scheduling that you've had no commitment to any specific treatment or treatment plan. And there are two very important things that I want you to pay attention to so that you can increase your rebooking rate. Because I share the study all the time about how it takes more than just new patients in the door, but to also focus on establishing that rebooking culture in order to hit your growth numbers in your med spa. And I'm going to be today going over my top 2 strategies in making sure that you have a rebooking culture with new patients that come through the door. Now, I want you to take a good, hard, fast look at these 2 things, because a lot of med spa owners and practice managers will say, yeah, I'm doing the 2 things that you just mentioned, Caitlin, or that you're going to be mentioning here in a second. And what I want to impress upon you is that these 2 things that I'm going to be sharing with you is not rocket science. It's not going to be something that you've never heard before. However, there are likely steps or holes in your current system that is resulting in you not having a higher conversion rate with first-time patients, not having a higher rebooking rate or culture in the med spa. So the first step in increasing the number of second-time visits in your med spa is to have a really sound consultation process so that you and your providers are not doing a la carte, one and done treatments, but really presenting a comprehensive treatment plan. And I want to break down and go over a few of the steps that I often see practices missing that at the end of the day, causing them to have a lower retention rate. So the very first thing is that the provider is allowing the patient to dictate the consultation and or treatment in its entirety. What I mean by that is, I'm the patient, I called, I said that I want a hydrofacial, or I said that I want Botox. I show up, I get that treatment. I'm told, let us know if you want to schedule your next appointment. Or maybe we have some great skincare products. Let me know if you're interested in those. They come in, they get their treatment, and we never see them again because we are allowing them to dictate their treatment plan or their experience at the med spa and doing a la carte treatment plans. Part of the first step in not doing a la carte treatment plans is having an aesthetic interest questionnaire, but actually using it to guide the conversation in developing a comprehensive treatment plan. So if you're a med spa that doesn't have an aesthetic interest questionnaire to pull out pain points, Not to say, are you interested in Botox filler or IV therapy or listing out all the services and devices that you have, but listing out every single problem or challenge that you can solve. That then once you have that information, then you can start explaining why you would recommend different treatments, devices, or services that you have to offer to solve their pain point. So that is an aesthetic interest questionnaire. One, you got to have it. Two, you got to use it. You can't just have it, but you have to use it. Another common challenge that I see in the consultation room is not asking for a commitment to the treatment plan that you recommend. There's a lot of good providers out there that get excited to be able to help their patient, and they put together a beautiful, wonderful treatment plan, but then they get hung up of asking for a commitment. And there's certainly tips and tricks along the way to build your confidence and asking for those higher ticket packages or treatment plans and getting micro commitments along the way and scripting that out for them. And if you have providers or a team that have challenges with that, that's where you really got to break down the consultation process and script it out word for word of what you want them to say, because that scripting and then holding them accountable for learning that script, using that script, recording them, role playing, is going to help them build more confidence so that eventually it just comes from their gut, okay? And asking for that commitment. And there has to be a well-orchestrated plan, because oftentimes I see med spas and you're like, well, the service provider is asking for the commitment. And then the service provider is like, well, I'm telling the front desk what I'm recommending and then leaving it up to them to schedule those appointments. And that's not setting you up for success. Not having a well-orchestrated plan and making sure that each team member that is involved in the patient journey, from front desk to patient coordinator to patient finance person to service provider to laser technician to new patient coordinator, if you have one or all of those positions, needs to understand their exact role in the patient journey to help the patient feel comfortable, feel confident in agreeing to and getting started on a comprehensive treatment plan, in agreeing to and getting started on a membership or a package, or certainly scheduling their next appointment before they leave, right? That's the whole thing. You got to get them scheduled before they leave your med spa. So you got to have that orchestrated out. The third thing that I see a challenge in the consultation plan, when you are finally getting confidence and recommending those higher ticket treatment plans, is you're not presenting patient finance. Now, I know that there's a hang up out there of like, oh, I don't want to present patient financing because I hate paying the financing fees. But what I can tell you is that if you do a simple mindset shift in the sense of paying financing charges is just a part of doing business, and I'm going to sell or win more high ticket treatment plans, more packages, more memberships, if I offer patient financing and make it super easy for them to give me a commitment, you are going to close more packages. I promise you. I've seen it time and time again. I've reviewed study after study with different med spas, but there's a way of going about doing it. So one of the examples that I love to do, and you can start doing this month in January, whatever your promo is for January, I'm hoping that it's some type of bigger packages that is, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, right? So these, you want to apply this to your bigger packages, is when you're making that one sheet, that promo sheet that you're putting at your front desk or in each exam room or on the window or in the bathroom. At the bottom of that flyer, put an example of what potentially patient financing could look like. And if you are someone that has Cherry Financing, they're one of my favorite financing companies for med spas, and shout out to me if you want help getting hooked into Cherry. I'll send you my contact there, because what I love about them is that you have access to a dashboard that you could put in. Let's say your package is $4,500, okay? And then you're going to put 3 months, 6 months, 12 months to see what an example of a monthly payment would be for 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months, where they can get 0% financing or very low percent financing on that. And of course, you put the disclaimer then based on credit, right? But you'll use the middle most common package that people apply for and land in their credit. And now all of a sudden, instead of a $4,500 treatment or package that they're going to put on their credit card that very day, all of a sudden they're looking at a $600 a month payment or $300 a month payment that has no financing fees or very low, right? And now I'm thinking like, well, I could pay all $4,500, but I don't know. That was like stinging a little bit. I'm gonna have to tell my husband about that $4,500 charge on my card. But man, that patient financing is looking really good, because at $300 a month, I don't even have to have a conversation about that. Okay, sign me up. Let's go. Let's do it. I promise you, you will sell more packages if you make it super easy for the patient and you make it super easy for your providers to present it. So tell the story of patient financing examples on your special of the month promo and package. And that's going to be a great way for you to get a higher commitment on that first treatment as well. Okay, so those are the common pitfalls that I see in the consultation room that is resulting in a la carte one and done treatment plans. And the second thing that I would like you to pay close attention on, that's going to result in a higher number of second visits and achieving that 70% plus rebooking rate, is to have a 2-week follow-up process. What I mean by that is that all of your patients, whether they are first time or second time, they get a follow-up call 2 weeks later that's personalized by their providers. Now, first and foremost, this has to be a part of the roles and expectations of all of your team members. This just can't be for the newbies. You can't have rogue providers that like, I'm the biggest, baddest, injector there is. I don't do patient follow-ups kind of thing. This is part of providing really a 5-star first-class experience with your patients. So that 2-week follow-up phone call and text message, you need to have the accountability in making it super easy also for your providers to make those phone calls. And it doesn't take that long if it's scheduled on their calendar, if they know exactly what they should be saying, reporting on, and have the contact information right in front of them. This is something that an office manager should be putting together and organizing and just handing it over to their providers, whether it's the office manager or front desk, handing that over to the providers or laser technicians for them to be able to do that. On that call, of course, you're just checking in, making sure they're good. And you're going to have those notes, right? Like, how's that new retinol working out for you? How long did it take before you started, to slough off that top layer from the peppering on your laser? Has your Botox taken effect? Do you need to come back in and have a little bit of a touch up? All of those things considered, right? Shows them that you care, shows them that you want to make sure that they're happy, shows them that you want to make sure that they are properly treated, that you met their expectations, because if not, we want to get you back in. That's also another opportunity. If they happen to leave that appointment that day without scheduling their next appointment, that's the perfect time right then and there to make sure that you get a commitment for that next appointment, right? Because of course, there's always those times that's like, well, I got to check my finances. I got to check my schedule. I want to think about it, right? When you get those type of answers, that 2-week check or follow-up is the perfect time to then hold them accountable in making a decision for that next step. If they don't pick up the phone, because the phone is the best way that you want to communicate with them, then again, you want to follow up with a text message, because that makes it super easy for them to respond back to you, right? Yes, I want to talk to someone. Yes, I want to schedule. Yes, I have a question. Yes, I have a problem, or no, I'm good kind of thing. And if they do engage, even with they're good, and if they don't have an appointment scheduled next, then you could follow up. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that your last treatment went well, or that your Botox is settling in. Let's go ahead and get you scheduled for your 3-month appointment when your Botox wears off. Like, how does Tuesday at 3 p.m. sound, 3 months from now, and you have that exact in there. You got to close the loop. Okay. Those two things, the consultation process and that 2-week follow-up calls and phone calls, those are the two biggest things that is going to move you away from being one of those med spas that 67% of your first-time patients never return, right, to being a med spa that not only has your loyal patients at a 70% rebooking rate, but all of your patients at a 70% rebooking rate. That's when you're going to see growth in your med spa. That's when you're going to have really happy patients that are referring you and coming back again and again. So what you need to do, because again, of course you have a consultation process, right? Maybe you don't have a 2-week follow-up process. So that's something that you could implement. But I want you to take a good hard look at your consultation process first and foremost, and ask yourself, do I have an aesthetic interest questionnaire? Is my providers actually using that? And what I mean by that is, if you have an aesthetic interest questionnaire and your front desk is seeing that the patient, that came in for Botox also checked about IV therapy and checked about having a facial and checked about sexual wellness, and in the notes or when she's checking out, she doesn't have another appointment scheduled or being recommended to her, that's a problem. That's a big problem, because that means the provider is not utilizing the aesthetic interest questionnaire in the consultation room. Okay, so you got to close the gap on that and really map out your patient journey. You also need to make sure that your providers are actually asking for a commitment. And this is a scary thing for some providers because they have a disconnect between being a provider and asking for a commitment when it comes to money, and they feel salesy, right? And a mindset shift has to take to recommend a treatment plan that solves all their problems based on their pain points, not on what you think they can afford. And then the final thing is that you're not presenting patient financing and making it super easy for them to give you a commitment. Now, on the 2-week follow-up process, again, this one's a little bit trickier to implement if you haven't already, because you might get a little bit of pushback, especially from some old dogs that don't want some additional responsibilities, right? But I think it's absolutely imperative that you build a culture in your med spa, one that everyone does the consultation process the same way and has the same expectations, but two, everyone does 2-week follow-ups, regardless how long you've been in the business and doing it, because it's about providing a just 5-star experience for your patients. So you have to have scripting, you have to have accountability, and you have to have a person that's willing to put the spreadsheet or the numbers or even running it through your dashboard, right, to make it super easy for your providers, because you don't want them to spend their precious time hunting down phone numbers. All right. So those are the 2 top things that you can do to increase your second visit rate. And I promise you, if you do these things and that you do them at a high level, your revenue really is going to grow, because it's not about a high number of new patients in the door. Of course, you want new patients, but it's even more about rebooking rates, increasing average spend, increasing number of visits per year, and that's going to get you ahead. All right, so I'm going to open up the floor for any questions right now, but while I'm doing that, I want you, for those of you that are watching me live now, give me an honest gut check of what could you be doing in your med spa that is going to help increase the second time visit percentage. Ask yourself, okay, is it in the consultation room, right? And what part in the consultation room do you think your team could be doing better? Or is it that 2-week follow-up process? And what part of the 2-week follow-up process? Does your team need a little bit more guidance and scripting so that they're not just checking the box saying like, well, I made the phone call and they said they were good and then I got off the phone? Do they need more of the language to continue the conversation and get people started? What part of consultation or the 2-week follow-up do you think there's the greatest opportunity in your med spa to get better? Chantel, Angela, what do you think that there's the biggest opportunity in your med spa right now, would you say? Okay, so Angela shared having the front desk revisit the aesthetic care plan to book other services. Okay, so let me ask you this. If you were to ask your team, all right, guys, who's responsible for making sure the patient gets booked for their next visit? I'm curious to know what your front desk would say versus your patient providers. What do you, Angela, what would you say? Yeah, Chantel, I would agree with you. And Nicole and I talked about that on their last visit. How is that going from, I think my call was with her 3 or 4 weeks ago. Has that gotten any better, would you say, Chantel? Angela, what would you say? Awesome, Chantel, glad to hear that. I think it's front desk and Kate agrees. Okay, so Kate, and is Kate with you right there beside you? Awesome. Okay, so your providers are has their recommendation in their treatment plan, and that she's handing it off to Kate, and then Kate is saying, hi Kate. Then Kate is saying, okay, can I get you scheduled for your next Botox appointment? Or what does that language sound like? Kate, unmute yourself here.
So I will basically say, like if it's a tax appointment, I'll say, can we get you set up for your 2-week follow-up just in case we need to do some additional units or touch-ups? And if they say no, I'll try and let them know like, okay, well, we're going to follow up with you. We'll give you a call, like just to try and get them in, even if they don't want that follow-up appointment. So that's kind of how I do it.
Okay. Now, what about, I'm in my mind, I'm seeing like they just had their Botox and then you're asking them, hey, do you want to come in for your, in 3 months from now? What about if they came in for a facial and your team is recommending, right, like a comprehensive treatment plan? To me, it's more challenging and looks and sounds different than scheduling, your next laser hair removal appointment or scheduling your next Botox appointment. So I want to hear from you. How are you, when you are seeing that comprehensive treatment plan, how are you handling getting that commitment?
You want to tell her what we just implemented?
You can
Go ahead.
Wait, are you referring to
The flyers that we put up.
Yeah, we're kind of doing like a little bit of an incentive in a way, where if someone were to like reschedule an appointment with us or rebook their service with us, we give them like a little voucher towards a new service to try and get them in the door for something else. So say they had like tax done and then they pre-booked their follow-up appointment. We'll say, okay, great. Thank you for rebooking your appointment. Here's a little voucher towards a laser service. So you can try that out too.
Got it. Okay. So,
or if they leave their tax appointment, say if you book a facial in 2 weeks for your tax follow-up, we'll give you $10 off the facial.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm really glad that Chantel, it says Nicola, but Chantel is on here from Fresh. And I'm going to share with you one of the challenges that they were having a month or so ago, or fourth quarter in essence. Nicola is a fantastic provider. She is experienced. She puts together amazing comprehensive treatment plans that gets her patients really great results. And she, spent all this time with them, and then she was, walked them out to the front desk to Chantel, who's an amazing front desk representative. And what happens is the transfer of, not power is the right word, but relationship from someone that I just spent, 30 minutes or a half hour, and I told them all my uglies, right, that I want help with. And then now this new person is asking for my money or a commitment. And one of my challenges to Nicola was, and of course, as a medical provider, she had the mental hang up that I don't want to talk about money. I don't want to come across as salesy. But what was happening is it was kind of stopping the flow of the consultation. And then when they were landing on Chantel, it was putting her in a difficult position to actually get the commitment. And I see that potentially decreasing your close rate as well, where I would love to see, Angela, your providers get a verbal commitment of, we talked about X, Y, and Z today. Do you want to go ahead and get started on this package or this membership? Get the verbal commitment so that when your providers are walking them to the front desk, then they can make the pass off, and depending on if there's someone around or not, they can circle things or point to things. If no one's around, they can say, patient Sue is going to get started on these 2 skincare products and our sales firm package. I want to see her every 6 weeks in between appointments. Let's go ahead and get her scheduled out. She'd also like to explore potentially patient financing, so that your front desk, Kate, in this in this instance, is just like seeing it through. She's not the actual seller, because your providers are the one that just spent an hour with her or half hour. So they should get the verbal commitment before handing them off to Kate. And I think that is going to increase your rebooking rate, increase your average spend, increase your retail. So, because I think Kate does a great job, but Kate didn't just spend a half hour or an hour with the patient. She doesn't have the same rapport. She doesn't have the same, authority and credibility that your providers do. And I think as Nicola is putting in here that, just in the last month that they've made that transition of the provider getting the verbal commitment has been a higher increase in rebooking and average spend per patient. I'd love to see you guys implement that. Okay. Awesome. Angela, thanks for coming live. Chantel, thanks for coming live, and Kate as well. And we'll be sending out the replay tomorrow if you want to share this with your team. Angela, for you guys to talk about what that could potentially look like and sound like. But I know that they are, excited, interested, incentivized to close more and to increase their treatment plans. And I think, in fact, I'm confident that they'll do that with just a little shift in your checkout process. Okay, awesome. All right, thank you guys.